create another project in Xamarin Studio. I call this the Color Scroll project. And in this project, we're going to utilize a ScrollView layout that contains a stack layout in which we're going to present a series of labels that show the different named colors within Xamarin. And we'll also be able to create our own custom colors. So to do that, we're going to create a data model class. So we're going to add a separate class that's going to have all the information for our different colors that we want to present. And we're going to use encapsulated members or fields. These are done through private variables. And it protects our data. You can't access the data itself. However, we'll be able to get to that data from using public property methods, sometimes referred to as getters and setters, in which we can get and set the values of those encapsulated members. We're also going to have overloaded constructors. And with overloaded constructors, this means that we're going to have multiple constructors that create instances of this class. And they're overloaded in the sense that which constructor is called is dependent on the data that I pass to it. So we're going to have one constructor for named colors and another constructor for unnamed colors in which we're going to pass it the red, green, blue values and have it create a custom color for us. And then we'll have a private method for creating a caption for that data. That's going to be one of the members, but it's a little more than just a getter set. We're going to populate the data internally using an array. So we're going to create multiple instances of all this data. And we'll use a for each loop then to go through that array to create our stack of labels. And in doing so, we're going to call a method that creates a customized label control. So let's go to Xamarin Studio and create this project. So here I am in Xamarin Studio. I'm using a Mac. I'm going to create a new Xamarin.Forms app. It's going to be cross-platform. I'm going to give my app a name. This is going to be Project O2C. And this is Color Scroll. I'm going to make it for Android and iOS. I'm going to use a portable class library and click Next. Choose where I want this project to go. And here then is our Color Scroll project. We have our shared code, our Droid project, and our iOS project. And by default, iOS is our startup project. Let's take a look at the O2 Scroll code. And we're going to create, as we did in the previous video, another class to contain our new page. Right now we have a main page here that's got some content built into it. I'm going to go to the File menu and choose New. I want a new file. And I'm going to create a new content page form. Let's call this new form Colors Page. So now I have a colorspage.cs. It is a content page. We're going to change the content here to be a new scroll view. And a scroll view can only have one child, so we're just going to change this to content equals my stack. Now we need to create the stack. So we're going to create a stack layout. I'm going to call it my stack. It's going to equal a new stack layout. We'll set our orientation equal to stack orientation dot vertical. Let's give it some padding. New thickness. And we use that device dot on platform we saw in the previous video to specify different top values for iOS and Android and WinPhone. Always in that order. So the 40 is iOS, the first 20 there is Android, the next 20 is WinPhone. And we'll give 20 on the right and 20 at the bottom. And I have a little problem here in that should be a parenthesis. And let's also set the vertical options to layout.center. And then we'll come in a little bit later and add some children to this. For now, I'll just put a placeholder for it. Okay, so that's my stack layout. Let's add a label. I'm going to call this LVL title. It's going to be a new label. We'll have a text property, which is going to equal color reference. This is going to be a title at the top of our scrolling list. And as the title, I want to make it a little bit larger font, so I'm going to set the font size equal to device.get named size. And we'll use named size dot large. And the object's being referred to is a type of label. And let's also set the font attributes equal to font attributes dot bold. Okay, so there's our label. We're going to add that in here to our stack as one of the children. So I'm just going to build here. I see a couple squigglies. And the problem is I don't have a semicolon at the end of each of these. So let's build this again. And this should be layout options.center. Okay, so far the build looks good. Let's just test this for now. Here's my iOS simulator. I'm using an iPhone 6s, our color scroll, and right now it's saying welcome to Xamarin.Forms. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to stop this. Let's go back to our colorscroll.cs, and we're going to change this main page to equal colors page. And let's try that. And I forgot my keyword new here. New colors page, since we're creating a new instance of that class. And here now is our app, and we have that color reference label. So our next step here is we're going to create a data model to hold the instances of our colors that we want to use in this stack. To do that, I'm going to go to File, choose New File, and I want to create a general empty class. We're going to call this class Color Label. So here then is my new colorlabel.cs file. It's just a class file. We see the name of the class is being color label. It has a constructor in here of public color label. We'll come back and modify that in a little bit. So let's go ahead and create our data model. So I'm just going to create a comment here at the top. These are our private members. So I'm going to create the members of this class. This will be the data that we're going to store. First of all, I want to have a color object that's going to be the named color. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean the color has a name. We might give it its own name for creating a custom color. That should be private color. Then we create another color. This is going to be the text color. This is the color I want the text to be in the label. For instance, if I have a white label, I'm going to want black text. If I have a black label, I want white text. So I want to be able to specify a specific color for the text. And then we're going to add a string value, which will be the caption that we want to display in our label. So my next section of my class is going to be the constructors. Well, I already have one created here for us. When I call this constructor, I'm going to pass it two colors. One is going to be the color of our label. The other one is going to be the color of our text. I'll use TC for text color, NC for named color. And I'm going to pass a string, which will be our caption. When it calls that constructor, it's going to create a new instance. And we're going to set the named color member to NC, the text color member to TC, and the caption, I'm going to call a method that we're going to write in just a minute called getCaption. And we're going to pass it the caption they're specifying, but also the named color. And I could use NC there as well as the named color. So the named color here is going to go back to our member. I could just use NC that was being passed to it. Okay, so with that, we now have to create our method for the private getCaption. So I'm going to create a couple more comments here. This is going to be public read write properties. This gives access to our private members, but by protecting them as properties. It can only we can get and set those values, but we can't access them directly. This is going to be our private methods. And so the private method we need is that getCaption. Now what caption is a string, so it needs to return a string. And we're going to pass it a string, which is going to be our label. So I'm going to do LBL as the name of that parameter. And we want a color. I'll just call it C. So that our caption goes into LBL and our named color goes into C. And then within that private string, let's put a comment on what this is going to do. This is going to return a string with the named color and a carriage return. Followed by the RGB values. So I want to get what the RGB values are of each named color and have that as part of our label. And I also want the equivalent hexadecimal value. Okay, so we're going to have some integers, RGB, obviously for red, green, blue. R is going to equal, we're going to cast this as an integer, but we're going to take that color C that we're passing, get its R property, which is a value between 0 and 1, and so we're going to multiply that by 255. We'll do the same thing for green. So we're going to take C dot, in this case, G, it's not recognizing the RG values here. So the reason is I need to add a directive to use Xamarin.Forms. B is going to equal, cast this as an integer, C times B, so we have blue value, times 255. Now I'm going to create a hex variable as a string. I'm going to put the pound sign or hashtag as the start of that. And then I'm going to take r.toString, this is the red value, but I'm going to convert it to a hexadecimal value. And that's using x2 inside the parentheses for toString will give us a hexadecimal equivalent. And let's also get the blue. Okay, so that gives us a string of the hex. We're going to return LBL plus, I'm going to do a carriage return, so \n RGB equals plus r.toString plus, I want to put a comma and a space, I'm concatenating here, g.toString plus another comma and space, our b.toString and then move a couple spaces, a parenthesis. We're going to add in our hexadecimal value and a closing paren. I can put all that inside of parentheses. Not the parentheses were really needed. Just makes it a little more readable, and do our semicolon. Okay, so that will return a string of all this together, which will be our caption. Now we'll come back up here to the public read-write properties, and let's add our public methods to be able to work with the data. So I have a public color, which is a named color. So typically for my properties, they start with a capital letter, whereas the private members start with a lowercase letter. And here we can simply use get, and inside brackets, we can say return named color, returning the value of the named color member. And then we have a set, and our set here is simply the named color member equals the value that is passed in this property. I'm going to copy this property structure and paste. This is going to be our text color. So I'll make a couple changes here. Text color. And text color. And the last one, this is going to be our caption. We're going to return caption, but we want to use that get caption method in creating a caption. So caption will equal get caption, and we're going to pass it the string, which is the value, and our property of named color. So there then is our class, our data model. Once again, I'm just going to build to make sure everything's okay. And I have a little problem here in that color should be a string. Okay, the build was successful. So let's go back to our color page CS. Okay, I'm going to add an array of our color label class we just created. We're going to call this my colors. We're going to add a new color label. So we're going to call that constructor. And we're going to pass that constructor a named color. I'm going to start with color.aqua. We'll put these in alphabetical order. My text color is going to be color.black. And our caption will start with aqua. And it's going to copy that line. We'll make this one color.black. And here I want the text color to be white. I want black on black. And my caption will start with black. Let's add one more. This is going to be blue. I'll go back to white text, and our caption will be blue. Okay, so we've created 3 color labels. Now let's get those into our stack. Okay, I've noticed my label now is underlined little red squiggly. Let's just build this and see if there's any problems. So once again, I've forgotten my semicolon here. I'm told here that color labels is not used. That's just a warning. We're going to go ahead and use that. So I'm going to scroll down here, and after my stack layout creation, let's do a for each. And we're going to create a variable. I'm going to call it MC in my colors. So we're going to cycle through all the colors in our array. So my stack dot children, we're going to add to the children of my stack our MC values. Actually, we're going to call a method here. We're going to create a method called create color label. I'm going to pass it MC. So So I need to create that. So I'm going to create a method that passes or returns a label, create color label. It's going to take a color label, data type, that we'll call XYZ. Okay, so we're going to create a new label. I'm going to call it new label. It's going to equal a new label. So this is a label view. I need to give it some properties. The background color is going to equal XYZ, and here's where I can use that property. Notice the uppercase of named color. And I want a comma there. The text color of my label equals XYZ, and here I want the text color. The text is going to equal XYZ dot the caption. And then let's go ahead and set our font size equals device dot get named size name size. Let's use medium on this one. And this is type of label. And then finally we'll set the font attributes. Equal to font attributes dot bold. Terminate that statement with a semicolon, and what I want to return here is new label. Let's try this. So I misspelled attributes. And here is our simulator running our app. We have our aqua, black, and blue labels. You can see it's getting the RGB values. It's determining the hexadecimal. All right, let's add some more labels so we can get this to scroll. Right now there's no reason to scroll, so it doesn't. So I'm going to come back up here on colors and add some more colors. Okay, so I have now added a bunch of colors in here. These are all the named colors within Xamarin Studio, within Xamarin.Forms. And I added another one down here for our new orange that's part of South Mountain Community College, our new label, our new logo. Our new logo uses this orange color, and the RGB values are 213, 127, and 0. Now I don't have a name for that. It's not part of Xamarin.Forms. When I call this color label constructor, it's expecting a named color. It's not going to get that. It's going to get these RGB values instead. So I have to go back to color label and create another constructor. This will be an overloaded constructor that will have different parameters inside the parentheses. What I'm going to do is I'm simply going to copy this constructor and paste. So I'm going to pass it an integer of R, an integer of G for green, and an integer of blue. Still going to keep the color TC and the string caption. Those aren't going to change. What is going to change here is the named color. And instead of using NC, we're going to call the color.from RGB method, in which I can pass it these three integers. So now we have two different constructors, and which one is called is going to be dependent on what is inside as far as the arguments that are being sent to it. Let's test this. And here now is our emulator running with all the different colors, and I can scroll through it. And you'll see this last one is SMCC orange from RGB. That was the caption I specified. And we see the RGB values and the hexadecimal value there. Now there's one thing that's bugging me here, and that is for the green values of hexadecimal, I'm getting lowercase f's rather than uppercase. So let me go fix that. In our color label, when I used the get caption, I used a lowercase x here rather than uppercase x when I was telling it to convert to hexadecimal. If we fix that, here now is our project, and we see the green values are uppercase. Well, that concludes our project.